Hi everyone, my name is Casey, and today I'm going to be talking about this case of these two young boys, James and Mustafa. But I don't want to just talk about them as a case alone, but as something that goes on all over the world and that should be talked about more, and changes should be made to fix what's going on. They're men growing up in neighborhoods surrounded by violence. They're men and young men in poverty and living by the code of the street. And it's not just about being tough, it's about surviving where institutions and opportunities are rare and limited. That respect is worth more than anything, that all these young men want is respect, but the only way to gain respect is to upkeep this dangerous lifestyle. There's a such theory called the strain theory, and it helps us understand the real battles that these boys are facing and how it gets them at such early ages, and how society is constantly saying that they should be better and want to beat the statistics. They should want to make something good out of their lives, like get good jobs and go to school. But what happens when the school fails to provide these things for these kids be due to underfunding, and that's the first step of success to them. But the jobs that also don't hire them just because of their upbringing as well. And when these kids start to feel like the streets are the only place where they fit in, that's when the strain theory is just holding on to them. It's like they can't escape from basically the streets. It basically is an emotional response to things. So, like anything that gets too full, it's gonna eventually burst. So, think about those kids as young men who are like becoming so full of anger and frustration, and also like all of these things that they're witnessing. It causes them to explode, and these can lead to violence and crime. And that's how the strain theory just keeps these kids connected to crime. There's a social disorganization theory. So, saying Mustafa's neighborhood, for instance, he was saying how there's drugs on every block and how the cops don't even respond when people are calling in gun violence calls, that the cops don't even come quickly anymore just because of how much it happens, which also causes these kids to lose trust in law enforcement. There's environments like these kids just don't feel safe. It feels like they have nowhere safe to turn. The schools and churches and struggle or the schools and churches are struggling to raise these kids like in our societies that we have today, because they're not villages, as they're not working together, and the streets have nothing to offer them, and they become the greatest teachers for them, which leads them to violence and not safe actions, which eventually leads them to jail. And the subculture theory, it really, in the video, it provides a clear image about how James and Mustafa may have adopted to their lifestyle, or not their lifestyle, but just their environment, and how they're so used to everything that goes on around them that nothing feels new anymore, and things that are like abnormal are normal to them. I think that if they had better role models and that they were like shown that people can live in the same life that they lived in and make it out somehow and still do something good with their life, that it would help these kids. It would promote their want to get out of this life, and also people could help them find the paths that you need to find to get into these better lifestyles. And I just think that there should be more programs and more things happening just to help these kids make a different life for themselves. That way that they're not falling all into the stereotypes and the bad things. But I think that the social theories help us understand how these forces are shaping their lives and how those all fit into the categories of the social subculture theories.